like I have virtually a 100% success rate with this, and it always blows people's minds, especially people that have a background in martial arts, because they say, oh, you're supposed to keep your shoulders down. And it's like, okay, well then how come it works when your shoulders are up like this?
So we've talked before, we've had some commentary about learning martial arts over the internet. And Rob, I think you've, in the past few months, you've had some opportunities to teach people some of our exercises via the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to share, I've got actually 2 videos here that I can share. You doing exactly that. So, instead of like waiting for the video to complete,
Mm-hmm.
why don't you kind of like talk us through like what was going on in this video here? So I'm gonna just go to this one here
Oh, right.
for agete. I wonder, can I make this bigger or is it going to be tiny? Nah. Oh, come on, that's annoying.
Not there.
No, it doesn't work. That's just lame. Okay. All right. Well, for everyone watching it, you're going to have to see the postage stamp size version. But Rob, why don't you talk away and kind of tell us, like, set the stage before I start playing this video.
So I got the chance to work with these guys in Romania, Dragos, the gentleman on the right had previously met Ark several years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and then he just approached me and said if I could do kind of like a class for a mini private with him. And I was like, this could be an interesting experiment. And he pulled along his friend Kurtley, and they both do Yoshinkan Aikido, actually. And Yoshinkan is Aikido talks a lot about center power, shuchuryoku, or concentrated power, and they use a lot of fascial stretching, which is why they'll extend their fingers like this, and they're big on like pushing the koshi like forward, so like you have kind of anterior tilt, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem is that for a lot of most of the general practitioners, then you get this clash of forces, which that's not what, by the way, Shioda Gozo was doing at all, even though like that's how he was showing the shape. But when you watch him, he's not clashing, typically speaking. But so they were like, we have this problem where we're trying the basic exercises, but we always seem to devolve into basically who's more conditioned. And yeah, I was like, okay, so maybe what I can do is we can make take this as a chance to see if my 10-minute, 5-minute corrections actually work over the internet. Because they say nobody can learn martial arts over the internet.
Oh, I think we're going to see whether or not that's possible right now, Rob. I'm going to start it up, and I'm going to keep the audio off.
Yeah.
I think the most interesting part is when you hear them talking at the end about what they feel. Like I go straight up.
It's pretty impressive.
I can believe it, because we've been trying this for quite some time at our dojo, and most of the time we are fighting each other. And I know how we are struggling to do this, and this is so weird.
And somebody made a comment in the forum where it's like we're fighting each other, or we're not fighting each other. It's like I don't know if it was intentional, but like, I mean, these guys are Romanian, so what he meant was like they're having a clash of forces. In terms, that's what he means by fighting, not necessarily fighting. So
yeah, I mean, you can see that right at the beginning there. See how he's trying to lift him up,
yeah,
and
that's what he's
stuck.
referring to.
So, and that's very much what we see when people try this exercise for the first time, before they really learn how to do it. It's no different. Like I'm sitting at my table here right now. If I try pushing down, my shoulders are raising up and my arms are shaking, and I don't know if the camera's shaking or not as I do this, but I'm fighting against the table because I'm trying to exert that muscular force. But you can see after those corrections, that's not what happens. That disappears.
And I can point out exactly, if you play the video again, I'll show you where Kurtuli makes an adjustment.
I wish I could fast forward on here.
Stop.
There.
So he's moving his chin forwards. He's already making the adjustment. And for people watching, I caught Kuroda making a similar adjustment, just like moving his chin just slightly forwards in order to give access to this chest. Because what happens is when you move the chin slightly forwards like this, the chest drops and it also kind of like opens. When that happens, your arms basically go super, super light.
Do you want me to
Don't
continue?
ask me why that is. I just kind of like notice. I have a couple theories as to it might be fascial stretching partially it might be that I'm achieving better balance. But what is undeniable is that the arms feel lighter. Now, something that Alex used to talk about was that if you move your arms straight up on top of your body and you orient your arms almost perfectly, they go light. They feel super light. As you bring them down like this, and right now I'm using shoulder, they feel heavier and heavier and heavier because my muscles have to compensate for that lack of equilibrium of balance. If I make an adjustment to my head position here, and then bring my forehead back, et cetera, it goes back to feeling light. It almost feels like my arms are on top of my body. That's how light they feel. To me, that what that signals is that it might be partially fascial tensioning, maybe, but also signals to me that I did something to my balance. And so when you're perfectly balanced and that person grabs and you're making that adjustment, you're perfectly balancing them too, then it makes them really easy to move. Like, yeah.
What I was going to say there too, Rob, before you went talking about Alex, when he made the adjustment of the chin, you see the same thing in the Shioda video with you and Ushida-san, and you start shaking his arms back and forth.
Yes.
At that point, because they are so light and relaxed. So
yes.
That's just another thing to point out there.
By the way, the reason that I also say I'm not sure if it's fascial tensioning or balance or a mix of both is because you could do something similar, which I call the zombie. Somebody grabs your arms and you try and raise it. It's like hard and you get a block, right? Or you can just raise your shoulders up like this, which is a big no-no in martial arts. And then you can bring your pelvis just slightly back, create an anterior tilt until your weight is on your heels. You'll notice that your bicep shuts off. Your forearm muscles are like relaxed. Literally, it's like, you're like zombie, right? But somebody's grabbing onto you, and then they can just raise you. Like, I have virtually a 100% success rate with this, and it always blows people's minds, especially people that have a background in martial arts, because they say, oh, you're supposed to keep your shoulders down. And it's like, okay, well then how come it works when your shoulders are up like this? Like this. Why does it work? And what I feel is that when I bring this all the way up like this, there's a stretch that goes through the body. I'm actually pulled away from the ground, and now I'm like wavering, basically. And then because of that, or once I'm in that state, then it's just really easy to raise somebody. Now, obviously, you can't go walking around like this, but that's just like a situation to give you something to think about. What is it that you're trying to aim for? What happens to you that allows you to affect the other person? And conversely, what does the other person feel when you get into that state?